just hit record on this now to get started. So everything will be posted in the webinar recordings page, and it'll be posted the video of this, and then also the clickable Pear Deck / Google slideshow that goes along with it. So I'm going to start out with sharing my screen. Let's see if that's going to work out for us today. I think I'm going to go that way. All right, let's hide that. Mike DeVola, how's that going?
Looks good.
Okay,
Beautiful.
sounds good. So I'm not going to see you guys up in the corner here. I'm just going to go keep you, I'll keep a few of you on over there. All right, cool. All right, so Pear Deck, what is Pear Deck? And so I just want to mention a few things. Pear Deck works with either your Google Slides or even a PowerPoint. I usually suggest converting things to Google Slides because there are a few features that we're going to talk about today that work better if you have things in a Google slide deck. So if you're somebody who's been a PowerPoint person all along, that's totally fine. And you can continue to do that, but it might be a little easier for you, especially if you don't have a lot of animations. Like if you don't have a lot of these things, you don't have stuff flying in, to push things into Google Slides. You can always upload into your Google Drive any PowerPoints that you may have. And you may already be doing that because you're using Google Classroom. So it works with something that you've already created, or it works with something that you decide to design from scratch. But the idea of what Pear Deck does, and actually I have a little screen that talks about it, so while I'm doing it. So it takes whatever your Google slide or PowerPoint is, and it kind of layers a piece where you can integrate different like student responses. You can make it more interactive, basically by adding some of their features to your slide deck that you've already created. You can have it launch for students and they can click through it on their own, or you can do it in real time with them. But you can embed into your slides or embed extra slides that will make it more interactive. So we're going to take a look at some different ways to do that today. So the first thing to getting started, and again, anything on here you see that looks like a link, just click everything because a lot of them are clickable. The first thing that you need to do is get what they call their add-on, the Pear Deck add-on. And so I have it showing up here already in my Google Slides. Once you get it and add it to your Google account, it will show up here all the time for you. So that's the best way to get started. You could also, if you wanted to, just open a new tab and go to peardeck.com and create an account for yourself that way. So you would just go to peardeck.com, hit teacher login, and you should log in with your Garden City Google account. Okay, and I'm already in, so I'm already showing that I have a premium account, but that's how you would set it up. Okay, the reason we do that is because, and we say use your Google account for two things. One, it ties everything back and forth into your Google Drive easily. And two, because the way we pay for Pear Deck is that we don't have to assign you each an individual code or anything like that. Just by using your Garden City address, it recognizes that you're a part of our paid account and you can get in and get the premium features. So the first thing to do, I like to do, is I don't go to the Pear Deck site that much. I do it all from in here. So your first thing would be to open any Google slide. Maybe you just have a blank presentation. Maybe you have one that you've already created. And you would start by going to add-ons. And then you would go to get add-ons. And what that does is it takes you to I think it's called the G Suite Marketplace, yes. And what this is it gives you a variety of different things that you can add on, kind of like an extension, but they add on only within this Google Slides. It's not going to follow you to a website. It's not going to follow you to Google Docs. These will be things that only work with Google Slides to make them better. And if you don't see it right away, which you typically do, you would click on it and click install. If you don't see it right away, you can search the apps for Pear Deck and it will find it for you, and you just click on it and it installs. Once it installs, and it may ask you one of those things of like asking for permission for your Google account, and say, yes, that's okay. What this will do now is you'll have this little Pear here, okay? And that's the way you get started. So let me just go back a minute. I've also posted a how-to handbook here. So this is made by Pear Deck. It's 109 pages. It is literally step by step through all of the things here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through the steps of taking this presentation that I've created for you here and turning it into kind of a Pear Deck enabled presentation. So the first thing I want to do is take my slideshow and I want to open or launch this add-on. So I'm going to click on Pear Deck over here. It's going to take a moment, and over on the right hand side I get a little toolbar, actually a big toolbar that I can use. And there are tons of features in here of what we want to do, what we can do. So the first thing, they have a few things here. One, if right away I know at this point in my slide deck, I want to ask students a question, I can just choose one of these 6 choices of question slides. So maybe I want them to do a multiple choice question. Maybe I want them to do where they're answering by text. Maybe I want them to go to a website. I'm going to select one that's a draw and drop that in. So it's going to ask me for the preview. I'm going to have them do update slide, and it's going to add the interactive question to my slide. So now what it has effectively done is put this little bar at the bottom here and said, this is when the students get to this point, it's going to say to them, draw anywhere on this slide. Now, I won't be able to see that right now because I'm not in the Pear Deck yet. We're going to look at that in a few minutes. But for right now, I know that I've made this a slide where students can draw. Okay, I can go back to this other one and maybe say, I want this one to be a text-based answer where they're responding to something. I'm going to update the slide and just add that to the slide. Just let it take a moment. Students, write your response. So basically what this is a quick way to take something like maybe I posted a question on my Google slide. What they're going to get is a text box to add their response. Okay, so this is your quick way to get students answering questions just on the slides that you have already created. There are a few other ways to do this. So the other thing you can do is go into the template library over here. And I'm going to click on that. And what this does is it has like entire slides that you can add in. So this is giving you like a quick little video of how to go about doing that. I'm going to go, so maybe this is the beginning of your lesson. This is going to give you a variety of different slides. As you come in and get settled, follow these instructions. What did you learn from last night's homework? Draw or type 2 things you already know about the topic. You would add basically any of these slides and just say, okay, I'm going to add that one in here now. And that will add that slide. And they're generic, so I'm not going to customize it. I'm just going to let them add that to my slide deck eventually. So we slowly work. Uh-oh.
That was happening to me yesterday as well.
Was it? Adding
Yeah.
stuff. It's weird.
It might be a Wi-Fi issue. It worked the second or third time I tried.
Okay, here we go. Good, it did go in. So basically what I did was I added this entire slide about how was the homework assignment. And what the students will see on this side is they'll be able to drag a dot over to whether it was easy or difficult, however you want to handle that. So these again are basic templates. So just asking them how they feel about something. You can customize these slides. How was the homework assignment? Maybe you want to add, what did you think of the movie? What did you want? You know, whatever you want to do, these slides now become customizable. And they already have built into it some kind of interactive piece. And those are all in these basic lesson builder templates. There's exit tickets. The other nice thing, and I'm kind of going out of order, but I'm just going to keep going here, is that there are other questions you can add in, other slides you can add in. For example, these would be some critical thinking slides about making connections, about considering different viewpoints. These are all pre-made and can get added into your slides. There are some example questions, which I love, because some of them are basic. Look, there's some math, but you can also go in and look for things in different content areas. So most of you seem to be social studies. So if we're going to social studies, there's a big question slide in here, factor opinion slides. And again, these are all interactive. So once these get dropped in to let's add that guy in. Once these get added to the slideshow, when students are doing this, they're going to be prompted to actively participate in that slide. So maybe I want this to be cause and effect slide where they're doing causes and effects of a battle or some kind of, I don't know, something that happened. There's a chronology slide. These are all based upon the social studies. So these would be fun to be able to just add in and customize on your own. And they're basically kind of done for you. So it's just changing the text that's on the page to make it interactive that way. Anybody else on here for any other subject areas? You do have math, there's science, world languages, ELA, and those are basically parts of the template library that you get for being premium account. So now I've added in some interactive pieces here to my slide deck. And you don't have to go that crazy. I just did just for the sake of showing you some different ways to add things. The last thing I want to do before we go in and actually share out this Pear deck and have people jump in and see how the student side of things works. They now actually have this new piece that says, let's add audio for adding audio instructions to a slide. So going over to your Pear deck add-on over here, we're going to hit add audio to slide. And this would be where you could just maybe read the instructions that are on the page. If you have students that you need to do that for, you can do it just because you want them to listen to something. Maybe you want to do a speech that somebody had, and you want to orally add that to the page. You would just record what you want the instructions to be and hit pause when you're done. Hit save and add it to your slide. So what's nice about that is you can talk about whatever was on your slide. You can actually have a map up there and be talking about different movements or something like that on the map. And you can just basically have your audio there. So kind of like we screencast, this is like a mini way to screencast just within Pear Deck. Again, I don't see it right now because I'm in the teacher mode. So we have to really look at this from the different perspective in a moment to see how this works as an actual lesson for the student. Okay, so I have tons of different slides in here. I'm ready to launch my Pear Deck. So down here on slide 10 are your instructions for doing that. You basically can do it all within here. And you have two options. So what's going to happen is once I click on Start Lesson, I'm going to have the choice to do a student-paced activity, which I would say 99% of the time right now, because we're doing remote learning, that's how you're going to handle this. In some cases, if you decided you wanted to use Pear Deck during your Google Meet session, you can do that. That's what an instructor-paced activity would mean. And that would mean you would advance the slides and the students would move along with you. And so that would allow you to do discussion with them and maybe present if you wanted to do more live teaching. I'm going to start off with just talking about student-paced activity because for right now, I think that's more of where we're heading with this. So I'm ready to present my lesson. I want to share this out with my students. I'm going to hit Start Lesson up here in the right-hand corner. And I'm going to choose Student-Paced Activity. Now what happens here is I get this teacher dashboard and I'm going to click Got It. And here's where things start to happen. Right now I'm going to share this and have you work with this. I'm going to copy the link and paste it into the chat in a moment because I'd like you to join this so that you can see what it looks like on the student side of things. But if I didn't want to do this right now, I just want to post this as an assignment. I have the option to hit Share to Classroom right now. And it will take this lesson and I can choose the class that I want it to go to, and I can add it as an assignment or a material or announcement to my Google Classroom. So it does integrate right into there. Students don't really need to sign in, especially because you're putting it in Google Classroom. They're going to be able to just have this as a student-paced mode. So what I'm going to do right now is just copy this link and go into the chat. Here's my chat. And I'm going to paste in here the link. If you could go into the chat and click on the link to the Pear Deck, that will take you to the teacher. I'll put this over here on the side. That will take you to the Pear Deck as a student, so you can see some of the functionality as a student. And since this is student paced, you really should be able to work at your own pace and advance through the slides. I'm noticing, just to walk you through a few things, this is my teacher dashboard, and I can go into this at any time right now. Like if I posted this and wanted students on it at 10:15 this morning, I could actually watch to see what's happening while they're working on it. Or I don't have to, I can just post to it and come back to it later on. Right now, I noticed that I have 7, 8 students in here who have signed in, okay? It shows me who has joined. It also shows me a join code again, if I needed to repost that for some reason. And it gives me a little page for notes. Okay, I have 7 of you on this first slide right now. See, if down here in the left-hand corner, you should be able to advance to the next slide. Do you have that on your end of things? You should be able to go into the next slide. Good, okay, I see a couple people on there now. This slide, I'm gonna just start moving through some of them, but you can advance at your own pace. So as a student, I could just be working on this Pear Deck that my teacher assigned to me. And basically this is who hasn't responded. This one was just, if I don't see, I'm looking at it in the teacher dashboard, so I don't see what the question was, or if it just asks you to write something on this one. It gave you a text box. So I should have on this one on Pear Deck sample, I should have given you some kind of prompt to respond to, because now all I'm seeing is what people responded to. And then I can go through and go, great.
Can you tell me where the chat is? I can't find it anywhere.
It should be towards the bottom of your screen. Where is it? For me, I have to go to more right now. Over it past the remote control, it says more. And then I had to go up to chat.
If you go to, if you go to the bottom, it should be like, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, a black ribbon should pop up and you should see something that says chat next to a green button that says share screen.
Thank you.
Also, as I'm watching this happen in real time, and again, I don't need to do it that way. As I go on to different slides, I can see, I'm in teacher mode, so I'm not seeing it as well as you guys are seeing it. I'm seeing how many students. I have 1 student on this slide. I have 2 students on this slide. How was the homework assignment? You're just dragging your icon wherever you felt it needed to be. Cause and effect. Students can draw anywhere. If you have anybody, I can go through. I'm seeing who that Stacy wrote something. Erica, I'm hungry too. Working from home is tiring. I can go through all of the responses from all of the people who actually put a response in there.
You can also stack it. I think it's more interesting on the previous thing you did. So if you go to the previous slide.
This one, that homework assignment, yes, you can stack how the whole class did on one slide. So from here, I can tell most people felt that the homework assignment of all of the people who put a dot on the page, that was a good one. I'm glad you remembered that. I can see that most people felt that this was a pretty good homework assignment. It was pretty fair. And I can even hover over the dots just to see what people answered, so I know who each person was. If I go to this one, I can sort it like this, so I can see a grid layout. So you have options here in the teacher dashboard. Now the teacher dashboard, basically, this is something that after I've launched it, I might just step away from and come back to later on to see how my students did. Okay, I can just leave down here on the bottom. I know I have 4 of 13 responses on this slide of 13 students. It's still in student paced. I can show responses. This would be more on a projector back in school. I can stop it from being student paced. Don't do that right now. And then I have 3 dots over here to change the view, the full screen, open project, not doing projector today. End the session would mean everybody is done, everybody has completed it, and I want to end the session so nobody goes back in. Other than that, I could leave the session and just let them keep working. But this would be if I wanted to check in, and we're going to go into in a few minutes how to look back at what your students have done.
I have a question, Lauren.
Yes.
If you go to show responses right on the next to the stop student, what does that do? I don't know if that does anything. I'm just curious.
It might not do anything on here as student paced, but I believe that's what when you're doing it with you. Normally, if you were in a classroom, you would try to have 2 devices going, like your smartboard and your Chromebook going, so you could watch on one device how students are working, and then you would have something projected on the screen. So that's where that's why it has that little projector there for show responses. That's really what you would use when you were in an actual classroom. So this is nice because stacked up, well, not in this one. This one I can lay out the grid. I can do individually and just go down and see what each individual student, how they answered. And then over on the audio slide, I'm going to come back to this because I want to show you another feature that I forgot to add to this. Okay, so these are all some of the different ways to make this interactive. And you should be able to click the audio in that top right-hand corner. It's kind of hidden on my screen right now. If you get to slide number, I don't know what this is, 9, where the audio instructions are, up in the top right-hand corner, you should have the audio instructions. If you click on them, it should read whatever I added to that slide. So I'm going to actually leave the session, but it should not kick you out because I want to go back to a couple more parts to this. So something new. So let me really go back a little bit. I went through a lot of the stuff in my game board here. I want to share with you a couple of things. I showed you on the right-hand side of the screen where they had those templates. And I also want to mention that there is a link here in this game board page that says using Pear Deck templates. And I'm going to open that up because that was from a social studies teacher that she makes amazing creative things. And this is one of them. These are all Pear Deck templates that you might find useful. So these are there's a document analysis one. These are history templates. One that I actually really liked was, maybe for middle school, was the Newsela, this Newsela Daily Deck. And I know it's under ELA here, but if you open that up, they have paired up with Pear Deck, no pun intended, has paired up with Newsela to do a daily article of the day, and paired up. And so they've basically created a Pear Deck for an article. I think it's a daily article, but these were just some that were more recent. So what you can do is if you click on that link, it takes you here. And if you're not familiar with Newsela, Newsela has current events articles that have been, where the articles are, they have different Lexile levels. So you can go over here, and let's just say the most recent one I found was May 1st. And this is about future of self. You can get a copy of the actual Pear Deck that they created for it. So what it does is it gives you kind of a sampling of what it looks like. You can see if it's something that you like. Lets them preview the article, gives them a big question, and asks them to write a response to it. So this is like basically a current events thing every day that you could just grab from here and add as one of your activities on your Google Classroom. So this asks them to read through and reflect on it. So if you like it, you just hit copy file to drive and you've got it, and it's all embedded and it's all done for you. So I do love that some of the things that are in here are already really created for you that way. So this is all clickable. These are some general templates that they have for you. And this is all linked off of that main page here where it says using Pear Deck templates. Again, I'll share this whole thing out with you later. So we've talked about what is Pear Deck. We've talked about how to get started. We have all of these links. I'm going to keep moving through here. We talked about adding an audio to your Pear Deck. And I have a little video here if you get stuck. It's really pretty self-explanatory, but you do have a video you can watch. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about is, I don't know if you've heard of this tool, but it's called Immersive Reader. And it's built out by Microsoft. And it's now built into, and it's very robust. And it basically will read whatever is on a screen to you. And there are a lot of customization features that can go along with it. It's dynamite. It's better than any other text-to-speech tool I've seen or heard from. And so I'm going to click on this. So basically, I'm going to share with you what they've done is, normally Microsoft makes products that only work with Microsoft, but in this case, they've made it accessible for use with Pear Deck and other programs. It works with Nearpod. If anybody in here is familiar with Nearpod, it's built into that now as well. Also, Flipgrid, I believe, has Immersive Reader built into it now. So I'm going to click here and just take you. So basically what it will do is it will read whatever text is on the page to the student. It allows them to control the speed of it. It gives the student some control of the situation. It allows them to control the spacing. It allows them to highlight different things on the page. There was even a library in there of some of those board maker icons for those of you who teach special ed. Some of those are even built into it. So they've really worked to make a very robust platform for accessibility reasons. So right now, you can enable it to work within your Pear Deck if you choose to. And all it will do is put a little icon in the corner of the pages so that your students can have that begin to read to them. So in order to do that, I'm going to click right here and go to this is for me. It may not work for you. It may work for you. But you have to go into your Pear Deck settings. It's going to take you to the Pear Deck homepage. So I'm already logged into my account. Chances are when you're doing this, you will be as well. And I'm in my account settings now, okay? So under settings, I have a lot of things of what I can do. The first thing I turned on is my classroom climate. So this would allow them to reflect on it. You can check for mood and feedback, mood only, feedback only, and you can turn that on or leave it off. I'm going to go in because this is in beta right now. I'm not sure how great this is going to work, but it has been in beta for several months, so I'm hoping pretty well from what I'm hearing. I'm going to turn that on. The other thing you definitely want to have on is your on button for Google Classroom so that it will link to it. You want your takeaways on, and I'm going to explain that in a few minutes. And you do, if you want to require student logins, just in case when you post it with Google Classroom, it requires a login, you want it to be Google. Okay, and again, we've paid for Pear Deck, so we're okay. They've signed their privacy policy. We're good with using Google sign-in for this. So now all of those things are on. And basically, let me show you what will work here. I'm gonna click on this page. Once it is in there, it should basically, once students, it may not show up because I already started the lesson for you. But once I start sharing a new lesson, and I don't want to do that right now, but once now that I've enabled it, once I share that out, it will put a little icon in the corner that the students can click on, and it will read it out loud to them. And actually, I think I put a little video in here, so at the very least, I can show you that. Hold on a moment. Can you guys hear that sound?
No, you have to share computer audio sound.
Now I got to do that. Hold on a minute. Where can I do that, Mike?
Go under to the right where more is. It's like the sixth option.
Sorry, hit the wrong thing. Optimize screen share for video clip.
Oh, you don't have share computer audio?
Nope.
That's fun. All right.
All right, well, basically what I'll do is I'll mute it for a minute and I'm gonna just advance the slide that I wanted to show you anyway, which is what will happen when they get to the immersive reader. Hold on. This is what will launch. So we'll make whatever is on the screen will launch into larger text, and then they will have some functions to, maybe I'll just put on with closed captions. Okay, we'll play that. What will happen is it will launch the whatever text was on the screen. It will let them change the text size, the spacing on the screen, and this will all do this within the Google slide that they're working through while they're in Pear Deck. They can change for the different backgrounds if they have vision issues. This part with the parts of speech, I don't think you guys will have to deal with, but that could be more if people with special ed wanted to work on something with that. This allows them to focus the lines. You can even take it and translate it to a different language. Okay, and this again would be reading out loud, except I'm not able to do that right now. Google Meet's now allowing you to do that with a different tab, but it's not showing up for me here in Zoom. So if you want to learn more about this, I'm actually may even do a session on it at next week's Ed Camp on just immersive reader and all the tools that it works with, because I think it's important to share that out, and it works with so many new tools now. But basically this is linked in the presentation here. I figured you had enough today to get started with, and I'm sure you have a ton of questions and other ideas for how you want to start using this that I didn't really want to focus too much time on it. But for those of you who do have students, special ed students, and I'm sure that's most of you at this point, that might be something you're interested in, and if you want to explore that, but otherwise it's going to definitely be a topic at Ed Camp next week. What else do we have here? Just a couple more things. One is this link to the teacher dashboard. And I just want to share out a couple of things. This is basically talking to you about how to open the dashboard, what the dashboard looks like, that it allows you to see what's going on. But we looked at that while I was running the Pear Deck, so I'm not going to get too crazy with that for you. Oh, I did want to show you this. That's why I put this here. Hold on. I'm going to go back to pretend that I'm actually going to go end the session that we were working on. So this was, here's my new session today. Yesterday. Oh, because it's active. I'm going to go back in here and find my session. Why is it not ending in here? Let me see if I have to refresh this page. So what this sessions page will do is it will show you any recent sessions. So when I presented that and had you guys join my Pear Deck, that became a session. That's what they call it. It doesn't change anything that's in your Pear Deck. It's reusable from year to year, from period to period. But each time you post it in a new classroom, it becomes a new session. So this is what, when I go into my homepage on Pear Deck, I have today at 10:16, I launched a student-paced lesson. I didn't name it, which was dumb. And I called the file, the actual file that it used was called Pear Deck Game Card. So what I want to do here is click on this and click End Session, which I'm going to do, which may kick some of you guys out. Once I ended the session, it's closed. Okay, so now it closed out anything the students didn't finish working on. You know, you would give them basically a couple of days to do it or whatever your time frame was, and once it's done, it's closed. They can no longer add to it. Okay, so now over here, I'm gonna click on this for a minute. I can do two things. One is I can go back into kind of my dashboard, and now I can review what they've done. So I can see 6 out of 13 students worked on this one. I can go slide by slide now to see what the responses were. So even though, because I had posted it to my classroom, let's say, I wasn't working on it in real time like I was with you guys. So I do want to be able to go back to it later on and see how the students were doing. Okay, now I'm done with that. I've checked over what I wanted to look over. And then back to my sessions page. The other thing you have here is under the 3 dots over on the right is to either reopen it if you wanted to, name it if you forgot to name it like I did earlier. The other thing you can do is this takeaways option. So I'm going to click on that. What the takeaways do is it takes your whole entire Pear Deck, right? And it makes it into notes, like a copy of class notes, so to speak. And what it will do in the takeaways is it will take all of the slides, and for each individual student with their responses, it will make them their own copy. I'm trying to get this to load now, but it'll make it their own copy and it will put it in their Google Drive. So what they'll be able to do is go back and look at how they answered the questions there. Maybe one day if the takeaways don't take so long. Okay. It creates a Google Doc and it shares it with each individual student. So anyone who logged into this session, you're going to get a copy of this. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but it should be making a copy into your drive now. And I'm going to get another link here. Now, what this does, believe it or not, is I can share this to Google Classroom, to my class, and say, hey, if you want a copy of the notes from yesterday and how you answered everything in the Pear Deck, click this link. And by clicking that link, they will only get their own personal copy. They won't see what other students did. Okay, so that could just be added as a material if they want to go back in. And I'm going to add it to my test class as a material. Please go back in and look at your responses to yesterday's Pear Deck. And that will give them all of the slides, all of the responses that they added to each individual slide. And those are called takeaways. And it's all here on the Pear Deck homepage. You have the home button, you have sessions, and you have help, which I suggest you use if you want any more training. It has a great database. They have tons of videos. They have tons of built-in Pear Decks that you can use already. And we're also going to share this whole thing out with you today. So you have all of these clickable links in here to get you started. Okay, this is going to be a little page to help you do what I just walked through on takeaways. So now's a good time for any questions.
Only question I saw that I didn't know 100% was can you preview a Pear Deck without opening a session?
No, you can't preview what it will look like for the student.
Yeah.
To avoid having too many random sessions on the teacher view. Yeah, but can you preview the view students will have that? No, and I guess the most that you'll get is here, like on this, let me just pull up this slide. You'll get, hold on a minute. You'll be able to see what it would look like. You know what I mean? And then you have to just kind of know if you put something like this, all it will be is whatever your content was on the slide. And then down here below, it says draw anywhere on the slide. So it's pretty much an open-ended place for them to draw. If you want them to be specific with some of those, you'd have to give them instructions on the Google slide itself. But anything like this or this, you can customize. How is the homework assignment? You can say cause and effect. I can just go in and edit this, but this is what the students will basically see, except for the fact that they'll be able to draw and you can't. Does that make sense?
Yes, to me at least. I think so.
Michelle, yeah, that was right. Go to the settings on your account to turn on the immersive reader. It also is in this when I share this out with you on the home page here. There will be a place where if you click on using immersive reader with Pear Deck, it will take you to a video to watch. Oh no, that one. This will take you to a video to watch on YouTube, and this will take you directly to Pear Deck where it will show you where to change the settings. But you're basically turning it on once you go into the Pear Deck home screen. Under your account settings, this is where you turn on immersive reader. This is where you also turn on takeaways and everything else. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, it's okay. I think you did talk about this, but the Pear Deck Not the add-on, the extension?
You know, yes, you can go also and get the
Pear Deck
extension
Power?
from the Chrome store. I did not talk about that. That was a good point. It's over here. It's called the Power Up, and you can get that like you would any extension. I have to be honest with you, I don't use it much at all. When you click on it, you basically get this opportunity to create a lesson, and it kind of takes you to Google Slides and has you work similarly to how we just did. And it gives you this little thing here. The idea, what they keep saying about this Power Up extension is that if you have any videos that are in your slideshow, that it's supposed, or any of these, you know, moving GIFs or anything like that, that it's supposed to optimize them. I gotta be honest, I haven't really seen a big change in that. Maybe I'm missing something on that one, but that was really the idea of this one. But yes, you could just click on that and create a lesson from there as well. I like it more as the add-on
Agreed.
over here. Anything else anybody has? No, it's a lot of information.
No, I think you did that extremely well. So very
It's
thorough.
just, it's a lot. And so again, we will post this video when it's done rendering, and we will post this, a link to, actually I'll embed this whole Pear Deck, this whole slideshow, so that you can go on this first page here. You don't even need to go through the rest of the slide deck. You just really need this first page here. That's the game board, and all of these links are clickable, and we'll go over everything that we talked about today. All right, if you have any other questions about it, feel free to, you know, email, just let us know. I'll be happy to help out. If we need any refreshers or anything like that next week, we can do it at EdCamp. But thanks everybody for showing up. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone, bye. Yes, Mike's here to help too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Social Studies Department. You guys are awesome. You're doing so many great things.
Do you want to stop the recording, Lauren?
Yep. Let me stop sharing.